so far to harbor life. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand.
I'm so bored of flat earthers. It's all the same. There's only so many times you can look at the same old boring, restrictive, hostile, fearful, and evidence-less world that they present you before you get completely sick of it. But they have a use for us yet, I think. Today, I'm going to provide some commentary on a video by WitsIt, GetIt called The Earth is Still Flat. Why? Not because I want to debunk his arguments, but because I want to try and show a little insight into how the conspiracy theorist mind works. How their foundation, their very foundation, is completely backwards and focuses only on moving backwards. I feel that it's a progression. It gets worse over time and exponentially so. For instance, there was a period in time where Nathan Thompson could almost carry on a conversation. If the subject matter were changed, one might even think he was relatively sane. But look at him now, a living parody of a human being.
There's a lot of ways to presuppose the floor and presuppose what the sky is, and then do math and pretend that that tells you how deep the center of the Earth is. I mean, you read it, right?
Don't Some of them, yeah.
In there. We know it's all in there. We know it's 1,000 pages, McToon. I'm asking you for answers. Hold on, McToon.
Let's see it.
I know you want to interrupt. I know you want to interrupt. I know you can't sit there quietly. You guys are crushing it, dude. Keep it.
Hey, man. Hey, bro.
On a sphere, because of where you are on the surface of a sphere and the angle that you are to the North Celestial Pole or South Celestial Pole.
WitsIt is well on his way to this fate, but he's a few steps behind, making him seem almost stable. However, it's all a very thin illusion. Let me begin with a philosophical statement. What is a singularity? A singularity, applied differently across the fields of math, physics, and technology, is a point at which an equation or other subject becomes too complicated to accurately understand. The intense forces at work compound on each other, and eventually, the entire thing collapses onto itself when the laws of the natural world become smeared together. It happens with stars. While they maintain a state of hydrostatic equilibrium during their main sequence of hydrogen fusion, once electron degeneracy pressure becomes too much, the math stops working. The star collapses, ending either as a tiny, incredibly dense white remnant, or as a black hole so dense that it swallows the light around it. In technology, a singularity is hypothetical. It's predicted that at some point, computer technology will develop to a point where any physically conceivable level of technology can be attained instantaneously. In the simplest possible terms, a singularity is where things get so dense they stop making any sense. Flat earthers are a singularity of conspiratorial stupid, and my goal today is to illustrate that to you. Let's get into it, shall we?
What up, everybody? So yeah, I titled this "The Earth is Still Flat." So I know I don't make a ton of videos about this subject anymore.
Yeah, I could tell, jabbing your finger at the device recording your audio like a troglodyte.
I do still occasionally accept invite to debate, but let me share this to some groups. Oh dang, I didn't mean to share it there.
This is going great. I'm supposed to trust this wannabe rice gum with knowledge of the universe, but he can't figure out how to promote a stream before starting it instead of wasting everyone's time.
So yeah, I posted an invite on Flat Earth and Globe discussion and invited people to come to 24/7 Flat Earth Discord to debate their Jesuit space monkey religion. But of course, no one's gonna show up because Globers are just keyboard warriors. What's up, bro?
Here we already see the signs of instability showing itself. Jesuit space monkey religion is pure useless rhetoric and no different, literally no different, from Alex Jones calling people literal goblins.
Goblins with a goblin. Bitch, are you for real?
Not to mention, he thinks Nathan Thompson's Facebook cult and the infamous Discord server where you'll get removed if you're not a flat earther.
I am cute.
I'm not going to say anything. If I join in,
ex-wife said so. Want to learn. State your purpose at once. Wait, they're so official. State your purpose at once!
He's so angry at you.
Are somehow reputable places to be. They're not. They're your echo chamber, WitsIt. What your cult leaders have told you is a place of high intellect and discourse. Yes, I'm aware I'm using rhetoric myself now. Trying to make a point here.
Hopefully the audio is pretty good and all that. But I just wanted to cover some stuff. What up, Brian? Brian Staley's a legend.
Alright, not gonna waste my audience's time. I'm gonna cut out any points where he's distracted by shiny objects and fails to stay on point.
I just wanted to cover the basics real quick about why it's provable that the Earth is flat, because it's been a while.
Been waiting for, a minute 40 now, WitsIt. Let's do this thing.
So it's commonly known and accepted in intellectual forum that when you make a positive claim, you have what's called the burden of proof. You have to substantiate your claim with evidence. The globe Earth is a positive claim. Not only that, but it's a positive claim of specificity. Okay? It claims axial rotation of 1,040 miles per hour east of the equator. It claims a circumference around the equator of 24,901 miles. It claims a radius of 3,959 miles. So that's a positive claim of specificity.
And proves all of them. So now when you enter the fray with the positive claim that the Earth is flat, you have the burden of proof. But let's continue first and see how WitsIt fails to understand this.
Being that specific positive claim has a very specific burden of proof. The issue arises when you go seek out the proof for this positive claim. So to clarify or to preemptively, discuss commonly used fallacious arguments from globe earthers, the globe Earth has the burden of proof. If you start trying to poke holes in some flat earth model, that is called a shifting the burden of proof fallacy.
Pull out my best Donnie impression here. Wrong.
Wrong.
The flat Earth attempts to poke holes in the globe model, which is in itself shifting the burden of proof away from the lack of evidence for a flat Earth. This is WitsIt's indoctrinated mind telling him that his ideas cannot take criticism. Having learned some entry-level philosophy, WitsIt thinks that invoking a fallacy somehow actually changes the argument. Guess what, WitsIt? If you're on trial for murder and you accuse someone of shifting the burden of proof, nobody will care. In the real world, fallacies are practically irrelevant. They're only worth invoking in the debate arena, which this argument of flat versus globe has already moved well beyond. Imagine some astronaut on the ISS looking down at WitsIt as he yells, "That's a fallacy." That astronaut doesn't and shouldn't care.
In addition, flat Earth doesn't actually claim a definitive model. We don't have all the information required to make a model.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Okay, so that's a shifting the burden of proof fallacy and a straw man fallacy, because no model that you try to poke holes in can actually be a genuine flat earther's position, because we don't claim a definitive model because we don't have access to all the information required.
So now he misinterprets a straw man as a correct evaluation of flat Earth cult beliefs. He has just admitted that there's no consistency or consensus among flat earthers. He's basically saying, you can't poke holes in our model because we don't have one. And the problem is, in the scientific world, not the debate world, the scientific world, you need a working model before you have any legs to stand on. WitsIt is using basic philosophy terminology to hide the fact that he admittedly doesn't know anything.
Another common fallacy that globe earthers use is a reification fallacy. So what they do is they postulate things that they consider evidence that require the presupposition that the Earth is a ball. They also do this with gravity. They reify gravity. So that's a reification fallacy. Those are the three major ones.
That's not what a reification fallacy is. WitsIt, since you spend so much time sniffing Thompson's ass, you'd think you'd know that. Nathan knows what it is, shockingly enough. A reification fallacy is when an abstract concept or model is treated as though it were a physical reality. It's also well accepted that reification fallacies aren't really a valid objection in relation to scientific constructs. The use of a construct in science is predicated on the requirement of empirical evidence to back up the validity of the construct, not reification in any way.
If you ever try to debate a globe earther that they're going to pull out the shifting the burden of proof fallacy, a strawman fallacy, and a reification fallacy. What's up, Karen? Karen B is alleged.
So, shifting the burden of proof away from the side that has just admitted it has no proof, a straw man of an argument that has no logical consistency, and a complete incorrect definition of a reification fallacy. Are you guys beginning to see how WitsIt's mind works? He hides behind grade school philosophy in order to disguise his lack of scientific knowledge and his lack of want to gain scientific knowledge. He has his tools and he will use them, and he will never achieve anything toward proving either side wrong or right.
So, here's the deal. Axial rotation has never been substantiated. They tell us that we're spinning around
a 15-degree-per-hour drift.
Thanks, Bob. Sorry, WitsIt, you were saying something?
1,040 miles per hour east, but it's never been substantiated. Globe Earth was up Foucault's pendulum. It doesn't have an independent frame of reference. It isn't consistent, it has a window of error, and it doesn't correlate cause and effect. Science is the correlation of cause and effect. So what that means is you have an observable phenomena that is the effect. Okay, you have to correlate the cause to the effect, which means you have to have an independent variable that is manipulated so that it differentiates the effect, and then you can validate that that is the cause. Okay, that's what the actual scientific method is.
Wrong. First off, there is not one scientific method, and second off, stop taking lessons from Leaky Warrior. The independent variable is time, and no matter how much you read that time cannot be manipulated, you are wrong. It is manipulated by having it pass a predetermined amount. One and done.
Okay, so we were all indoctrinated and told that we lived on this tiny speck of dust that's spinning and shooting through space in this ever-expanding universe, and it was brought to you by Jesuits, the Vatican Church, literally, okay? And also a Jesuit priest came up with the Big Bang Theory. So,
doesn't that completely contradict the claim that the globe is promoted to solidify some kind of satanic religion that's attempting to bring down the devout Christian man? I really don't understand why religious flirts ever bring up Jesuits, because it's their own side and we're smart enough to know that God and globe Earth are not mutually exclusive.
One of the most corrupt establishments ever, if not the most corrupt establishment ever, brought you this fairy tale story that you evolved from apes and that you're on a tiny speck of dust and there has no evidence.
And now he's showing that common flat earther conflation of evolution with heliocentrism. Evolution, by the way, or a rather primitive version of it, was first proposed by French naturalist Jean-Baptiste Lamarck and then further solidified by Charles Darwin, neither of whom are Jesuits. And I'm still waiting for an answer as to why the Vatican would shoot itself in the foot and propose an atheistic evolution theory that actively works to disprove their own creation model. That's not corruption, that's intellectual suicide.
So what we did was we went out and tested the claim of curvature. We have long-distance observations that are literal impossibilities on the globe Earth. We have observations of 273 miles. The Black Swan was done from 1 foot observer height. The geometric horizon should be at 1.2 feet. In the circulation of the mean, we gave you 5 feet. That means it's the geometric horizon, the physical, literal, tangible piece of land that should cause obstruction of view. It can be no further than 2.73 miles. This isn't a debatable number, okay? This is...
Jesus Christ, take a breath for a second. I know you want to keep going with your script, but it makes it hard to respond to. First off, there is not one single C2 far observation that has been proven to work at any given time, and when we bring up atmospheric refraction, flurfs shit their pants and complain that that's always the answer. Well, if the atmosphere exists at all times, you must always take refraction into account. As soon as you do, you realize that you need separate observations of the same phenomena happening in different atmospheric conditions. But if you did that, you'd realize that on a clear day, the Chicago skyline disappears. The oil rig is seen below the horizon. Approximately 600 feet of the CN Tower disappears. And it happens every single time. But you guys keep clinging to those observations and accepting no criticisms of them. That's totally how the scientific method works, WitsIt.
And so not only we make one claim, that is a claim to a general descriptor of the surface of the earth that is flat. We have the burden of proof to substantiate it's flat. Well, we have done that. I just now gave you numerous examples, and there's thousands of them. We've substantiated the claim of flat. That's all we have to substantiate. We don't claim a definitive model. We're not even allowed to traverse the whole earth. I'm not sure if you're aware. So how could we possibly know a definitive model? That's non sequitur to the fact that we have...
Okay, shut up. You don't know how to pace yourself for 5 fucking seconds. Now, in regards to the we're not allowed to traverse the whole earth thing, yes you are. No matter how much you bitch about the Antarctic Treaty, you are allowed to traverse it, and several people have. No flat earthers have ever even tried. You realize it would actually help your cause if you tried and you were stopped at the Antarctic shore, right? But you've never even gone that far, because you have zero interest in actually finding out the truth.
Falsified your model. The falsification of the positive claim of the globe earth doesn't just go away because you want to poke holes in a straw man model. Okay? I really hope that people are listening to what I'm saying if you're a glober, because it's so incredibly simple if you really just understand what I'm saying.
Another contradiction. You can't poke holes in a straw man model that doesn't exist, and you have already admitted to having no model. So now, WitsIt's grade school philosophy education is beginning to fail him. Nathan taught him the words to say, but not how to say them in a way that isn't completely contradictory. Talk about indoctrination.
Okay, so again, you don't get to shift the burden of proof. That's a fallacy. So it's that simple. It made a claim of curvature. We falsified that claim. If it's not curved, what is it? It's flat. Very simple stuff.
Here's where we start to see how deep into it WitsIt really is. He doesn't realize that outside of the debate community, nobody cares what you call a fallacy. A fallacy is not by definition incorrect. It's faulty reasoning that can be called into question, but no part of saying that's a fallacy is synonymous with saying that's incorrect. He's just too deep into the world of online arguing to know better anymore. Here's an example. If it rains, the street will be wet. It rained, therefore the street is wet. Despite this logic using the fallacy of affirming the consequent, it's still a true statement. So fuck off with your fallacies, WitsIt. They're irrelevant to the truth of the matter.
And the KJV Bible is scientific. Yeah, true that. There are people that claim to be Christians, but the Bible literally says that the earth is flat, and they act like it doesn't. I don't know. It's really weird.
No, it doesn't, and the Bible is not a science book. First off, Job 26:7 KJV. He stretcheth out the north over empty space, and hangeth the earth upon nothing. What part of that line says the earth is flat, WitsIt? Maybe this is due to the fact that the Bible was written by idiot sheep herders who didn't know the other side of the planet even fucking existed. Tell me again, WitsIt, about how we were all indoctrinated in school, but the Bible is true because of reasons.
It's really kind of weird, but nevertheless. So yeah, you can't shift the burden of proof. Really take that in. It's simple. We falsified the positive claim of the globe earth. And understand the implications of the falsification of the radius. The current connotation of gravity relies heavily on that number. That means gravity implodes. Orbital trajectory implodes.
Not a falsification if it's already been falsified itself. You don't get to claim victory while skipping the scientific step of peer review. Your cult beliefs have failed peer review. The globe still spins. Next.
Okay, now to touch on something that globers love to say is gravity. Let me give you an example of when globers will invoke their little deified force known as gravity. The necessary antecedent to gas pressure is a physical container.
Not listening any further, the Earth doesn't have gas pressure, it has atmospheric pressure. Gas pressure is uniform, the atmosphere of the Earth is not. But WitsIt has been indoctrinated by his cult followers to believe that this is a valid argument, so he's going to regurgitate it as often as possible.
So originally there was Newtonian gravity, proportionate mass, mutual mass acceleration, and in fact Newton himself didn't even postulate an explanation. And in fact what he did say was to think that this would work on brute matter in the vacuum of space over vast distances is to me so great an absurdity that no man with competent faculty of thinking in philosophical matters would ever fall into it. So basically Newton himself said the way that you use gravity is retarded.
Wrong.
And here's another indoctrination tactic of flat earthers: quote mining. WitsIt intentionally bastardized that Newton quote because he's never actually read the source material. He's just parroting someone else, likely Thompson or maybe Southern Israelite. What Newton actually said, in 4 letters to Dr. Bentley containing some arguments in proof of a deity, was, quote, "It is inconceivable that inanimate brute matter should, without the mediation of something else which is not material, operate upon and affect other matter without mutual contact, as it must be if gravitation in the sense of Epicurus be essential and inherent in it. And this is one reason why I desired you would not ascribe innate gravity to me. That gravity should be innate, inherent, and essential to matter, so that one body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum, without the mediation of anything else, by and through which their action and force may be conveyed from one to another, is to me so great an absurdity that I believe no man who has in philosophical matters a competent faculty of thinking can ever fall into it. Gravity must be caused by an agent acting constantly according to certain laws. But whether this agent be material or immaterial, I have left open to the consideration of my readers." Pay close attention to Newton's words there. On a simplified level, he is saying he does not believe gravity would work without the mediation of some other agent acting upon it using certain laws. He cannot say whether the agent is material or immaterial, but knows it must exist in order for gravity to work. It sounds, at least from my perspective, that Newton is almost predicting special relativity here. The dilation of time and space is the agent that he felt gravity was missing. In fact, if you read the previous few paragraphs of that same text, Newton also seems to predict the modern theory of galaxy formation when asked about why matter formed in different ways throughout the solar system. WitsIt, you bore me. You took an entire paragraph of Newton's text and turned it into, "Anyone who believes in gravity is retarded." His words, not mine. I'll probably do a part 2 to this video, since his stream is 41 minutes long and we've only delved into the first 15. As usual, all I'm doing here is using WitsIt as an example of how to fall down the rabbit hole, how to leave logic and reason behind, and then cannibalize it for your own beliefs and desire to feel special. Let me know if you guys want me to do the rest of his video, and I will. Love you guys.
And listen, we're gonna go up into space and it's gonna be beautiful. But we're gonna need help. We're gonna need help from China. China. China.
Wrong.
If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications. If you want to support me further, consider becoming a member or a patron, or checking out my merch or my Amazon links. Thank you, and I will see you over the curve, Space Cowboys.
In a vast cosmic arena. Our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some